Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next episode of Shenmue Dojo Interviews. My guest on this interview is a well known games guru who has been working through game trailers and Easy Allies over the years. He has streamed Shenmue via the Game Trailers platform, and his reaction to the Shenmue III E3 2015 conference synonymized all of the Shenmue fans' reactions at the time. Not only that, he remains a massive Shenmue fan to this day. And my guest today is Easy Allies host, Michael Huber. So, Michael, welcome to the dojo. How are you doing?
Doing excellent, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me. Much appreciated. I'm going to dive straight in with a question that I always like to start with. And I want you to talk us through a little bit of your gaming history. So, from first console, favorite games, just give me a whistle stop tour of your gaming history to now.
Totally. I had a brother who recently passed away. He was 3 years older than me. He passed away from cancer like 2 years ago. But since he was 3 years older than me, I, as a kid, was always exposed to more mature video games, I guess. So we got NES, was kind of our
Yeah.
starting point. And Super Mario Brothers 3, I like to say, is maybe the first game I ever really fully played. So quite a bit of NES, but then Sega Genesis and Mortal Kombat on Sega
Yes.
Genesis. You could do the blood code to make it more graphic.
You
And
could.
even though my brother and I had an NES, we chose to get Sega Genesis over Super Nintendo because Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo was edited.
Yeah.
There was no blood. It was just like sweat. so so we got Sega Genesis, and Mortal Kombat, definitely one of the biggest games.
Oh yeah, I remember the controversy that caused.
So much, totally. Yeah, I can remember my mom just being really concerned about getting us that game, but my brother was a little older, and we ganged up on her.
Ah,
So she eventually caved, and her whole thing when we were growing up was always, it's just a video game, right? It's not real. Like, she's always concerned.
yeah, we had that as kids actually. Even my parents were quite good with that sort of thing. They let me play the more mature stuff, Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat, GTA. As a
totally.
as a 12, 13-year old, which I probably shouldn't be playing, but
Yeah, yeah, same. GTA, so intense.
and my dad was like, "You do realize it's a video game?" Yeah, I was like, "Yes, I know. I'm not going to jump in a car and start running everybody over." And no, I was lucky. I was very lucky to experience those, like you were.
Yeah.
Actually, it's nice. So
Shout out to my brother and my mom.
yeah, absolutely,
Exposing me.
and a shout out to my dad for
Yeah,
letting me get away with it for,
totally.
for so long. So obviously the Genesis as well, or the Mega Drive in the UK.
Mhm.
Did you pick up a Sega Saturn? What did you sort of pick up after the Genesis?
So I didn't have a Saturn, but I had N64.
Yeah.
My friend had a Sega Saturn, but I never had one personally. So yeah, I think I went from Genesis over to back to N64. I can remember just Mario 64 being the
Yes.
must have, the absolute must have. I can remember how expensive those games were. I can remember getting
Yeah.
I can remember getting Turok, and I'll just remember like, okay, you're not getting another game all year because this is it. Like, are you sure this is the one you want? I can remember getting Turok and bringing it home and getting to the first save spot, and it's like I was so young at the time, I didn't know what the hell was going on with video games. So I get to the first save spot, and it's like, hey, you need a memory pack to save your game.
Oh no.
So I can remember having to leave my N64 on for like days at a time until I convinced my mom to like, Mom, I really need a save pack. Like, I want to be able to start and stop and save. And she's like, all right, this is the last thing. This is it.
Oh yeah. Oh god, you're bringing back some memories there. You used to keep the Mega Drive on the N60. Yeah, I used to do
Yep.
that
Yep.
all the time, man. God.
Like
And
Teenage
now we have
Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES. I can remember keeping that on like for days at a time.
That game was so hard.
Impossible. I like the second one. The one that was in the arcade, the one with like the burning building in the beginning.
Yes.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
I love that game. Love it, love it, love it. It's so I love that arcade game. I'd happily buy a cabinet if I could store it
Oh my
somewhere.
gosh, yes.
That's such a good game. So N64, and then was it Dreamcast after that?
Yeah, it was definitely Dreamcast. I just God, you're bringing back such memories. Getting nostalgic. I can remember so vividly being in an EB Games.
Oh wow.
Um, I was in an EB Games at like a little strip mall, mini mall area, and they had a giant TV display in the building over their games, and on that display was Sonic running away from the whale,
Yes, yes, I remember
and
that clip.
just mesmerized. And since we had Sega Genesis, we loved the Sonic trilogy, Sonic 2, of course, all time best. Uh, but seeing him on that pier running away from that whale, that was it. It was must have. Needed that system. So
Yeah. God, yeah, I remember being absolutely blown away by we used to get in the UK Sega Saturn official magazines. I don't know if you had
mhm.
something similar in the US.
I had a ton of magazines, which I'm sure we'll get into once we start talking about what. But
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had the Saturn one.
We had the Saturn one over here, and it was still called Katana at the time when they revealed it in the magazine, and they had like screenshots of Sonic and everything else kicking around in it. And I remember just being the only way I could describe it was just I sat there in awe of it. It was it was a leap that I never expected, and I'd actually argue one of the biggest leaps across between console generations that we've seen.
I couldn't agree
It
more.
it was massive. It was
Mhm.
unreal. And then you obviously had Sonic the Hedgehog. You had Soul Calibur, which is a fantastic game. Now we obviously have our favorite game of all time, Shenmue,
Mhm. Yeah, yep,
which we'll
yes.
talk about more in a bit.
Yep.
Uh,
I can
and
remember playing Power Stone a lot. Do you ever play Power Stone?
yes, Power Stone
Oh
was
my
fantastic.
god, playing that with friends just nonstop.
And then Crazy Taxi and the soundtrack and
Yes. Yeah,
man,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I can't believe. Oh man, I feel like I'm 14 again. It's so good.
Love it.
Absolutely, no, it's so good.
Yeah, love it. I do agree with that leap that Sonic had with Dreamcast. That's reminds me of the HD leap. Honestly, it was just so crazy. I was like, how is this even possible?
Yeah, it's like they drew a line in the sand and said, "Top this."
Hmm.
It was it was going back to it was Sega at their best
Hmm.
in every way, shape, or form. It was unreal. So sort of we'll go through the other consoles as well quickly. So the Dreamcast, as we know, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah,
Did you move on to the PS2 once the Dreamcast sort of faded away, and then sort of through the PlayStation family? Or did you go over to Xbox or?
never had an original Xbox. Got a PlayStation 1 a little later. My neighbor had PS1, so I usually just took advantage of that.
Oh yeah, cool.
Um, but then, yeah, PS2 on my birthday. I can remember my brother running in and throwing the box on my bed and like, open it, hurry up, let's go, open it. And it was the PS2 Gran Turismo 3 bundle.
Oh, nice.
Um, my brother and I loved cars, Fast and the Furious, crazy. He had an STI. I had a 2000 Civic Si that I turboed, and we got really into like street racing for a while there. But I feel like it all kind of started with Gran Turismo 3. But then yeah, after PS2, it was PlayStation and Nintendo all the way, and an Xbox after 360, of course. So now, just with my job and everything, and I'm an adult and I can get a job and I can buy my own games, like now I just usually favor every console.
Doesn't matter what it's on. Games are games.
Exactly.
They are, isn't it?
There are no console wars in my life. I think it's the dumbest thing. I think it's so childish. Video games are video games. Like, competition makes the other companies even better,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
like they're all in this together. I'm like the positive person in me is like, yeah, we're all in this together. Like, video games are the best. They're gonna be great. Obviously, there's a part of me that knows it's a business
Yeah, of course.
and they're against each other in that sense, and they want to get your money. But still, at
Mm,
the end of the day, it's entertainment. It's video games. Love them all.
absolutely. Yeah, I can't. You summed it up perfectly. I'm looking at across my desk, and I've got my Mega Drive out, and then there's a Super Nintendo just above it.
Yep, yep.
And
Sega and Nintendo both. Like, why not?
yeah, because the games that those two companies were putting out back in the '90s, even now, they're
Hmm.
fantastic. And
Hmm.
I was always there was always envy, not envy. Well, maybe yeah, I'm gonna call it envy because I had a Mega Drive. I was a Sega guy all the way through. I love
Hmm.
Sega, and that's my dad's fault because he got us the Mega Drive. That's absolutely his fault. But I always had envy of like things like Legend of Zelda on the SNES and the NES. And
Yep.
when I picked up an N64, when I got Ocarina of Time,
Hmm.
and that's when I was really introduced to Nintendo as a brand, if you like, and I was like, wow, I missed out on so much stuff.
Yeah, I
being
was I
poor.
was very, very, very lucky and fortunate enough to be neighbors to one of my best friend and my coworker as well, Brad Ellis, who is also part of Easy Alice. But
Yes, of course.
he had all those like he had his games, I had my games, and then we would just share and we'd have them all.
Yeah, and that's the best arrangement in the world. That is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
we
Fant-
split
I
the
love it.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, well, you can do it now. Actually, can't you on PlayStation and Xbox? You can game share and do it that way, which is quite
Mhm.
nice. It's
Totally.
cool, actually. I love it. Right, I'm going to move us into Shenmue because I could talk about old consoles and retro all day long.
For sure. Setting the tone though, like bringing us back.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm 14 again and picking up Shenmue for the first time. But I'm going to
Mhm.
take us even further back. When did you first hear about Shenmue? How did you discover the series, and what were your thoughts on it when you saw it?
So, magazines like Game Pro, Dreamcast magazine. I will never ever forget. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it because I can transport myself there. I'll never forget the screenshots in magazines of the hands.
Yes.
People's hands in Shenmue. That's how detailed this game was. They're showing hands of characters and like the veins in the hands and how each finger was individual. Um and that was it. I can remember just staring at those pictures and being in awe of how real they looked. I mean, we talked about Sonic, kind of
Yeah.
breaking down the barrier and looking so good. This was another leap above even that. And then just reading all the details, of course, kind of reading about, hey, every character has their own life that they live. I'm just like, what is this game?
It was you talking about hands just brings back a memory.
Yeah.
It was the same over here. We in the Dreamcast magazines over here. They really picked up on that sort of thing.
Mhm.
The hands, the realism, and
Yeah.
that there was nothing like it before.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
And I was hooked.
Hmm. Hmm.
From that moment on, I was hooked. It sounds like you were. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely, because like GTA 3 wasn't wasn't even a thing, that was like 2
No.
years after Shenmue. So the idea of this living, breathing town where you could go into shops, the idea that you could play a video game inside of a video game. I mean, everything about this game before it came out was not only doing things that other games weren't trying, but it also just looked the best and just everything about it was
Yeah.
mesmerizing. I mean, I was yeah, 100% hooked. every time I would go into a Barnes and Noble or a store with magazines, um, I would just run over and grab the magazines and like, where's Shenmue? Like, I want to see new stuff. Like, where is it? When's it coming out? What's happening?
Yeah, no, I remember being shown it at school. A friend of mine showed me it, and he vividly ran up to me in my form group in school and said, "Matt, you've got to look at this." And me being me, I was like, "What's this?" And he showed me Shenmue, and I was like, "Oh my god, give me this game and give me this game now!"
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
nothing like it.
nothing like, yeah, absolutely nothing like it, and I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, but I class it in my own mind as the first, what we define now as AAA.
AAA. I mean, there's an argument to be said about first modern open world, even.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. That I support that
you know,
argument all the way. That it was the first proper open world. I mean, I know Zelda Ocarina of Time had an open world, but it was nothing like what Shenmue did, and that's not disrespectful to the Zelda
totally.
games at all.
Totally. It's like comparing, the first person shooter. Like there was one before Wolfenstein, and we like to say it's Wolfenstein, but then at the same time it's like, Doom though is like the one that really made it mainstream. So there might be other earlier examples, but to me
Yes,
Shenmue is absolutely, the first big commercial AAA open world.
yeah, definitely. It was the first one that gathered that mass mainstream attention, if you
Mhm,
like. It
mhm.
was everywhere, and it was Sega's flagship title for the Dreamcast as well. You had Yu Suzuki at the helm, who obviously, with his rich history of Virtua Fighter, Virtua Racing, he was a pioneer at the end of the
Great
day.
great call, Matt. I was too young then to follow creators.
Mm,
So to me, at that age, it was just the game. I really wanted the game. Um, but I can imagine being even somehow even more hyped than I already was, knowing that it was Yu Suzuki, because even at that time he had such a rich history, like you were saying, of games.
yeah, definitely. And like you, I was too young to follow creators. I was only like
Mhm.
13 at the time. I wasn't very old.
Yeah, I was 12. Yeah, I was 12.
It was only as I hit my sort of late teens, early 20s that I started picking up on these things. I was like,
Mhm.
"What? Yu Suzuki did Virtua Fighter?" And I know it was touted as the sort of the Virtua Fighter RPG, but it took me a while to make those links, which sounds horrendous now owning a Shenmue website. But
Yeah, we just didn't think about it back then.
no, we didn't. We didn't. So let's talk about the game itself. It's in your hands. You've picked it up. Where did you buy it from? First off.
Probably EB Games. That's where I did all my shopping. My mom was friends kind of with the owner in there. He would let us return games, like, more so than the store policy. Sometimes,
Excellent.
I would get a game and maybe it wouldn't work or it's not what I expected, and he was just so cool, and he would let us, just swap it out, no problem.
Great.
So, yeah, so back then I got all my games from that store. And yeah, I can just remember getting it and it being, the all those discs. I remember
Yes.
just being shocked by that. Um,
Yeah, it was.
yeah, and I don't remember like the first time I ever booted it up, but I can just remember playing on my living room floor and having magazines and the instruction manuals kind of scattered all around, and just going through and trying to just discover things. It wasn't really about finishing or beating the game as much as living in it.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely. No, it was. It was. I don't know. It encouraged you to do what you wanted at the pace you wanted. So if you wanted to go to the shop and buy a chocolate bar or get into the raffle, you want to go to the arcade, that it gave you the freedom to just lose yourself. That's the only
Mhm.
way, and that's the only way I can describe it. And that's without us even touching on the story itself.
Yeah. Yeah, once that story got its hooks in me, there was no looking back. I mean, still to this day, I am so invested in this character, Ryo Hazuki. Like this this kid is part of my life. I want to see his journey complete.
Yeah,
And I want the best
absolutely.
for him. He's been through hell, his dad got murdered, like, but is vengeance really the answer? I know we're gonna get into it more, but I want him to be happy, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We want to see the end of his journey by all means. So, can you remember? I know I'm probably being a bit cheeky asking because it's a long time ago. Can you remember when the story hooked you?
It was probably Ine-san
Yeah.
complaining about me being out too late.
Brilliant.
Um, yeah, that was it, and it just felt so real. I felt guilty. I felt guilty for making a video game character worried, and then I knew that was it.
Yeah, it conveyed emotion that
Mhm,
in a
mhm.
way I don't think a game had done before, which is why I think when Shenmue gets you, it gets you, and it doesn't let go, does it?
No. Yeah, and just that emotion like you're talking about, it was just so realistic. And that's something Shenmue 3 unfortunately didn't have was those visuals that were just so far ahead of everything else that it really did feel
Mm,
real.
it did.
Just so realistic.
It did, and you can go through Shenmue One itself. The scenes with Nozomi, for example,
Mhm.
with Rio being very cold towards her, and I'm screaming at him, just be nice to her. For
Treat her right, damn it.
man, yeah. And then it's also I go back to the opening cutscene actually when you're walking through and he goes into the dojo and Landy obviously takes Rio out,
Of
kills a
course.
WoW, and he dies in Rio's arms. I mean, the whole scene, the music, the presentation, and the way it was set, just that was it. There've been
Yeah.
it was the cinematics on it just absolutely nailed it. I think.
Oh my god. Every time you bring something up, I get chills. I wish you could see my arm right now. My arm has all my hairs sticking up because I'm thinking just how attached not only me, but you as well, and just any Shenmue fan, we're just so damn attached
Yes.
to this world, to this story. Like, how do you not get chills just thinking of that night when Londi's at the dojo, at the house, and it's all rainy, the doors busted open. It's just it feels like a lived memory.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why it's so relatable because it makes you feel those emotions. It puts you in Rio's shoes without forcing
Mhm.
you. It just, I don't know, it gets his claws into you, and that's it. You're in for the long haul here. And
Yeah,
I would struggle in my years of playing games. There aren't many that have done that, even to this
totally.
day, and I think that's why it's so special now
Yep.
to everybody.
Yeah, universal themes. I'm always about universal themes, and Shenmue nails that. I will take grounded a grounded reality where you're learning life lessons just about, dude, thinking about the 4 Woo-Do,
Mm,
4 Woo-Do hype. I just eat that stuff up. I love that. I'll take that kinda human story over genre stuff usually every time.
and I mean, Shenmue One's very much about your friends. It's about the close knit network and
Mhm.
community of Dobuita itself. Because obviously everybody knows Rio, and they know they're trying to help him get through that bereavement, that loss,
Oh, I love that.
and
Yeah. Sorry,
and
interrupt you.
he's so and he becomes so headstrong, doesn't he? In it that he
Mhm.
and you have his father's dying words. keep friends and those you love close to you, and he completely ignores it.
I know. He is a man on a mission, singular focus, reckless. But I do, like you said, oh, I love that. I love that vibe and dynamic so much. You know, when people ask me, which one do you like more, Shenmue 1 or 2? Uh, I always say 1. And it's because of one reason, and that's because of the town.
Yeah.
The town that knows Rio. You know, these are his friends, his family. I love, 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 love that dynamic. You know, when you go to Hong Kong, it's very cold, and that's by design. You know, these are strangers. You're getting pickpocketed. You're
Yeah.
getting, you're a fish out of water. You're uncomfortable. You're off balance. So I love the cozy small town feel in the
Yeah,
first game.
and it's nailed. They get it spot on with that small
Hmm.
town feel with his friends. Even going to the
Hmm.
docks as well and everything. I don't. It's just magical. It's just magic
It is.
for
It
for
is.
me.
It is. It so is.
So Shenmue 2, obviously, because you're in the United States, you didn't.
Yes.
You're unlucky that you didn't get the
Oh my
Dreamcast release.
gosh.
So I presume you imported it.
I did. This is the only, still to this day, this is the only game I've ever imported in my life.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I would not be denied the continuation of this story, damn it. So I can remember getting it off eBay and getting the European copy and having to get a boot disc.
Yeah.
It was a pretty simple process actually. You put the boot disc in, then you put the European Shenmue disc in, and you're good to go. I will say though, Matt, you probably had a better experience than me. This was always heartbreaking, but it is what it is, and I was just so fortunate enough to play the game. It didn't bother me that much.
Hmm.
Couldn't import my save.
Of course
Couldn't
not.
import my items, so I didn't have my continuation into which kind of hurt the experience, but I was playing it on a Dreamcast in America, so I was happy.
Yeah, oh yeah. You bringing that up, I was like, oh man, you wouldn't have done get the save across. We
Hmm.
lucked out here a little bit, I think. I don't. So you're stepping off that boat into Hong Kong. We've already touched on this a little bit already, but I want to go into some more sort of detail around it. You step off that boat in Hong Kong, and the instant feeling is, wow, this place is huge. I feel
Hmm.
lost. Was that the same for you?
Absolutely. And really quick, I'm really sorry to go back for one
Of
second
course.
to the ending of Shenmue
Yeah,
1.
absolutely.
Not catching Londi, not getting revenge, not even fighting him. I mean, that was a shock. I was shocked by that.
Do you know something you mentioned in the ending? I until very shortly after finishing Shenmue One, I didn't know it was going to be a sequel. So I was sat
Yeah,
there scratching my head. What? Where's he
yeah.
going?
Yeah, I was blown away, and then when it ended, I was like, "Oh, this is only just beginning? What?" So, yeah, the hype immediately as soon as the credits roll. I mean, it's unfinished business, and I think that's different than a lot of sequels where, usually you get a sequel, but the business is done. Like Uncharted I'll think of. That was the first thing that popped into mind,
Mm,
like Uncharted 1 to 2, like you finish the journey in 1, but then there's a new journey in 2. Or, I just this was so unfinished. It wasn't even a sequel to me. It was a continuation.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So, sorry, yeah, sidetrack there. So getting off the boat, yeah, just it felt massive and so uncomfortable. I knew Ine-san wasn't back at the house to just kind of retreat to if everything went sideways. It was dangerous. There was a danger in Shenmue 2, to me, unlike 1. It was this big city, gangs everywhere. versus the small town that you were so used to.
Yeah, and the opening the opening sort of scene is you come off the boat and you turn left to go towards the Free State Lodge, and you get bombarded with all these people trying to sell you things, take your photos. That's when I
Mm-hmm.
remember sitting there going, "Oh, hello, this is going to be an experience and a half here."
Yeah. You see the lodge there too. It's like really run
Yeah,
down. It's like, oh, I miss my room. Miss my things.
and then you get your bag stolen within what 10 minutes.
Yeah. Instantly. Yeah, and then of course, you get caught up in the whole thing and chasing down leads. I do like that aspect of obviously chasing down leads, and of course that's in every Shenmue.
Yeah,
I just love this detective mystery that's going on. Sometimes I feel like Batman investigating everything, interrogating people, going undercover. Love all that.
and Rio's got this, as we've said before, he's very single-minded, isn't he?
Mhm.
He doesn't think about his actions. I know we talk about the four voodoo, but
Oh
he
yeah.
hasn't got them yet. And
Nope.
you can see it in his mannerisms, in his character. He's so headstrong that he
Yep.
just dives into these situations without a second thought. And it's brave, I'll give him that. But it's
Mhm.
also very, very stupid.
Reckless for sure, which is why Li Xiao Tao, dude, one of my favorite arcs.
Yeah, I would second that. I think because Rio's naive, isn't he? When
Hmm.
he meets her for the first time in the temple, doesn't twig that
Hmm.
she's the master of the temple. And then I vividly remember when he comes back after learning the full voodoo, and he steps out, and she challenges him to fight, and he's like, "I'm not fighting a woman," and she just that
Yeah.
blur motion moving towards him, and he can't touch her,
Yep.
and I can only imagine how he felt because I remember sitting there losing my mind, not being
Yep.
able to hit her.
Dude, Matt, seriously, man. Like the restraint of these games and Yu Suzuki. Here we are, a game and a half in. We've played an entire game and a half, and we are not even close to being a martial arts master or being able to go toe to toe with Londi. Like that realization that there's still such a long way to go and to grow is still unlike unlike any game. It's marvelous. I love it.
Yeah, even with Shenmue 3, and we'll touch on that shortly, he's still got so far to go.
Hmm.
Even there, he does. If
Carrying all those books. I just I
oh
love all that.
yeah, the book trying to calm his mind,
Uh-huh.
which is ironic because I remember playing it and just running and doing the QTEs to try and get through it.
Yep. Yeah, just sprinting with those books.
Rio's got some
So funny.
Rio's got some good balance. He's oh my, and then when you leave Wanchai itself, you go to Kowloon, which is that is a really
Yeah,
dangerous, dark, dingy place. And the first thing that
totally.
happens is you get captured and you have to
Mhm.
escape. And that's some of my favorite parts of Shenmue as a whole. Actually, is when you're trying to escape from that capture for the first time, running with Ren
Incredible.
handcuffed together.
Oh, iconic. Incredible. Just such a fun dynamic, those two. So much fun. And yeah, like you were saying, Kowloon Waltz City, just a very dangerous place.
Yeah, dangerous, dark, not not knowing what's round the corner, and you're with Ren, who you don't know whether to trust him or not. They have
Uneasy alliance.
yes, very uneasy. They have this almost brotherly relationship.
Mhm.
Ren just knows how to wind Rio up, and it's really funny to watch.
Mhm. Totally.
I can just,
Poking him. Just poking him.
yeah. Oh, when he bets against him in one of the street fights,
Yep. So
all
great.
the double-sided coins as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it reminds me of Yakuza, like Majima and Kazuma for sure.
yes, yes, very, very
Well,
much
Yakuza
so.
reminds me of that. Yeah.
And even in Shenmue 3 at the end, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played this yet, when Ren takes on one of the three henchmen and Rio turns around to him and asks how they're even friends.
Yep. Or even friends.
It just, that sums their relationship up.
Yep. Or at era 2 at the end, Ren's just like, all right, you got it from here.
Yeah, it's all yours, mate, carry on. So I'm going to bring us back into Shenmue 2 again. The
Mhm.
rooftop fight.
Oh my god.
Give me your summary of the rooftop fight.
So you're chasing the big dude up there. I forget his name. What's his name?
Dol Neo.
Yes. You're chasing him up on the roof. You get up there. As you finally get up there, who do you see but Londi escaping on a damn helicopter? So close, dude. So close, but so far. Dude, it was like I felt Star Wars vibes, man. Like I was about to go to the dark side. I felt a rage. I felt so angry of that stare down, him just staring us down and flying off. Like always freaking one step ahead.
Yeah.
Always one step ahead. And here we are at the end of another game. Like this is 2 full games now, and I'm no closer to catching you than before. Like this is nuts.
That stare down is crazy.
It is. It is so much emotion, so
Yeah.
many feelings without any words being said. And games nowadays can easily do that. I think of Last of Us Part 2 recently, people can convey such emotions without saying a single word. But this was 20 years ago. So, the fact that they were to me on that level uh just speaks volume to the power of the story.
Absolutely does. And it's the look of Rio's face as he flies off and you can see he starts getting angry, his eyes narrow, and it's
Mhm.
you feel that with him. You feel that emotion, that rage, that he's just that fingertip out of reach.
Right there, dude. Oh, hurts.
And it did make me wonder why Landy didn't come down and murder everybody. But
Dude, because Rio's not even worth it, man.
yeah,
Rio's not even worth Londi's time, and it's like BM, dude. That's what I love. Is like Rio isn't even close. He's not even a thought, I feel like, on Londi's mind.
yeah, he's
And that is reinforced. Yeah, that's reinforced in the next one, which I'm sure we'll get into.
oh yes. There's a one line that stands out in that, but we'll come to it in a minute. But I'm going to talk about Guilin in Shenmue 2. You've had this
Yeah.
epic, absolute
Oh my.
epic fight on the rooftop. You end up in Guilin, and it is 2 to 3 hours of
Yeah,
calm.
dude, as a kid, I'm not gonna lie, okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm gonna be honest. It was kind of over my head as a kid.
Yeah,
I didn't connect to it as much, because they're talking about such deep life stuff that I didn't connect to it as much back then, and I was just kind of going through the motions of like walking through the woods. It's not the most fun gameplay. You're walking and talking through these woods. So I can remember just kind of being like, okay, it was fine. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. And then of course going back years later, replaying the games, streaming the games, everything, just feeling that so much more than I ever did.
yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I didn't get it when I was younger. When I first played it through, I thought, oh, this is nice. but I didn't get it. I
Yeah.
didn't get what it was doing. I look at it now, and it was daring, so daring,
So daring. My goodness. Yeah.
because you've come from this massive action-packed sequence to something that's completely opposite, as far away from the previous scenes as you can get, and
Yeah.
daring, outrageous, and it's something I
Mhm.
didn't realize I needed until they did it.
Yeah. And, daring is the perfect word because, again, for 2 full games, which is like, we're so used to franchises now, but again, like, asking players to be this patient and to commit for this long is that is a serious ask. That is a tall order. And the fact that Londi had just flown away in a helicopter and now we're just walking through the woods with no immediate hope of catching up to him, it was just a very bold storytelling move.
Absolutely. But then in the last 10 minutes,
Mhm.
it goes,
Mhm.
it cranks it to 11. It goes mad.
Yeah. We find a cave with a note and a sword and some giant mirrors. I was like, "What is happening?"
And then the game ends.
And then the game ends on one of the most legendary cliffhangers ever in a game, introducing it almost felt like we were about to go into a like a spirit realm or some kind of magic or like magic was about to be introduced.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
just didn't know what to think.
It was, I remember when I finished it and I was like, right, give me Shenmue 3 now.
Right now.
Little knowing what would ensue in the intervening years, which we're going to talk about now. Actually, is those intervening years. Obviously, you stream Shenmue, yeah, on game trailers. You've streamed it on Easy Allies. In that intervening period, did you ever give up on the franchise? Was it something that you thought would never happen, that Shenmue 3 itself would never occur? Because we had things like Shenmue Online, we had some of the cameos from Rio in like Sega All Stars Racing and things. Did you think it would happen?
Always. I never stopped hoping and believing because of Yu Suzuki.
Hmm.
As long as that man believed and wanted to make more and continue this journey, I was going to believe as well. So I just never gave up. I would go through fits and spurts of super super hyped and needing it and wanting it to trying to put it out of my mind,
Yeah,
but it was always in the back of my head just hoping.
and hopes. I think that's what kept the community going. Actually, it was that hope and that desire. Did you
Yep.
follow any of the community sort of campaigns that were going on at the time or anything like that?
Um, Honestly, not too much. Um, Not too much. Would always anytime Shenmue was mentioned and I would see it though, I would always click into it or see what was going on. So I would definitely follow it, but I wouldn't go out of my way
Okay.
to for any of that. Just because it felt I would have this hope and desire for it to continue, but it also sometimes felt like, well, nothing can really be done until they announce it or something. I just felt like there was nothing I could really do.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair. I can see. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're not the budget holders. We're not the
yeah,
people behind
yeah,
it, are we? We can just shout a bit and go. And it was successful, but we'll come to that now. Actually, in terms of the E3 of Dreams 2015. Now I'm going to ask you: did you see the Yu Suzuki forklift tweet before?
I did. I did, and I didn't know what to believe. I didn't know if he was being cheeky, if he was just joking around, if we were gonna get a remaster maybe,
Mm,
you know? I didn't in that moment immediately think of Shenmue 3 it's happening.
wow. And it's funny looking back now, isn't it? When you think he
It's
was
so
he
obvious.
was
Yeah.
he was almost trolling us a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Truly.
I have it on good authority from doing other interviews actually that Sony were not too impressed that he did that
Really?
because they wanted to keep it quiet. They wanted that surprise factor.
Yeah. I mean, even seeing it, I was so shocked. How can you not? I mean, if Yu Suzuki had even announced it, he's like, "Yo, I'm making Shenmue 3." Like, even then, I would have been, I would have paused because it had been so long. I would have been like, "Wait, are you sure?" So, I don't know if anything could have prepared me for that official announcement.
No, and I mean your reactions in Shenmue folklore now, and I say this as a compliment. It encapsulated every Shenmue fan in one person. That reaction, we were all there with you.
That's awesome to hear. I love that everyone felt that way, because how do you not? Like, Matt, you're following this series for 20 years. Like, you want to see redemption, you want to see the continuation. And it's even more than that. I think the reason I got so emotional was because it's so many so many things happening and converging at once. It's, of course, being able to continue Rio's journey, which is awesome. It's like, yo, we finally get to continue, awesome. But it's Yu Suzuki. It's this man chasing his dream and getting it done for him and for us. And it's like he wants it really bad for him and for us, and I want it really bad for us and for him. And it's just like this circle of love that was just so powerful. I mean, I can remember getting so emotional, and then when I saw him, it was like this gut punch to the heart of just, yes, man, you did it. Like, chase your dream.
And the reaction live of the people there, he got a standing ovation.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Rightfully so. Never give up. It's just such a legendary story.
yeah, oh man, it's giving me chills going back to that.
Yeah,
Even now, I've got chills. I would, I put that event only, it's only superseded by my wedding
good answer. Great answer. Great answer.
because that's the only way I can do it justice. Is in all honesty, is that I remember sitting up watching it on my laptop. I was still at my mum's place at the time, and I had to keep myself quiet because it was 2 a.m. in the morning. And I
Yeah.
just remember it happening, and I remember feeling all sorts of emotions
So many.
and those emotions will live through you, quite frankly. It was, man, I've got chills. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Just, yeah, an unforgettable moment, and Final Fantasy VII and Last
Man,
Guardian right around there too. Just nothing will top that. That is, like, I never say never, but like that is going to be such a hard E3 moment to ever top. Just that holy trinity of games that people had given up on, basically. Like, oh, these are never going to happen. Like, stop dreaming. And it's like, no, Yu Suzuki coming out, showing us never give up.
yeah, absolutely.
Want something, chase it. And his just determination and his commitment to getting this done for so long is inspirational.
Yes, 100%. And you're right. It's that circle, the community, him, and everybody pulling the same way. We all want it, and we all want it for each other. And I think that's what makes the Shenmue franchise and the community and everything around it so special.
Yep,
It's gone
we're in it
beyond it's gone beyond a game in some respects. I think now.
together. Yeah, I agree. it's the lifestyle. Like like Shenmue fans, we are so in love and committed. It's like it is more than a game.
Yeah,
It's more than a hobby. It's more than a pastime. Like it is intertwined with our lives, and part of that obviously is this decades long unfinished journey that we've been on, but it's more than that too.
yeah,
It's the best.
it's an experience that,
Hmm.
yeah, you bottle it and sell it if you could. It's a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter, how long did it take you
Mhm.
to back it? Bearing in mind you were live at the time.
Oh, as soon as I got home, that night, my wife was waiting for me. She knew what just went down. I remember sending her a picture of me just weeping. Like, so we got home and just immediately booted up that Kickstarter. And she was like, "Whatever you do," we weren't married at the time yet, and she was like, "Whatever you do, I'll match." So
Oh,
then, I put
really?
some. She's like, "Okay, so however much you choose, I'll do that too." And then we put in together one big chunk. I think we did like the $300 or $400 one. I think we did like 150 each. So we both gave like $300.
Fantastic. That was a capsule toy one.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I've got the little reel on the forklift right here. I'm holding on to.
Oh, you did
It's got its tongue out.
you did so well with that. I love those capsules. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
They're so good. So good. What did you think of it going to Kickstarter as a sort of a side point to it?
I loved it. I thought it was genius. I can remember this being controversial at the time.
Yes, I
I
can.
mean, what isn't controversial in the video game industry now? It feels like sometimes.
True.
To me, this was a very silly, insulting controversy. I was upset about this. I can remember the whole thing about, oh well, Sony's backing it, and now you want us to pay you money, like, um, yeah, just that whole dynamic, and probably just from a lot of loud people who hadn't been waiting 20 years for the continuation of this story, Like,
Yeah.
I had no problem. This was Kickstarter. These were donations. I can spend my money however the hell I want to.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell me to not do this, And the whole thing with Sony, they were publishing and producing or whatever, but that still wasn't the budget of the game.
No.
Like, this game still needed help. It needed support.
So I'm going to ask a question around the Kickstarter because it's something we've talked about a lot in the community. Is do you think they could have communicated better? Because around the Sony situation, because as you rightly say, I think people jump on certain aspects of that Kickstarter, the Sony aspect
Mhm.
being one of them at launch, and assume that they're backing it. Do you think they should have communicated that better? That actually Sony were a partner, but nothing more.
Yeah, maybe like the next day or two, once things had calmed down, do like a dev diary or something about, hey, yeah, yeah, I think it probably could have been addressed better, but even now, that seems like so long ago. I feel like nowadays, maybe that would have happened. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's interesting
yeah,
because yeah, I think maybe there needed to be a little bit of damage control, but at the same time, it was like if you, it just felt so specific. It was like, yo, this Shenmue 3 Kickstarter is for Shenmue fans. Like, and I don't say that as like a gatekeeper or like, yo, stay out of it. But it is the third game in an unfinished story. So if you had never ever played a Shenmue, naturally you're not going to be as invested or interested in this.
absolutely. And I think there were some aspects of the media at the time that latched onto it. And I think
Hmm.
Shenmue, to a point, gets a unfair reputation even now in some aspects of the media and the way it's
Yeah,
portrayed.
yeah, I can also remember, unfortunately, this completely unwarranted battle between Yakuza and Shenmue that all of a sudden kind of erupted on the forums. And it's like, yo, this is this is Sega still. A lot of the Shenmue people work on Yakuza. Like, you're criticizing the same people that are working on the games. I can remember just this war, and it's like, no, they share similar DNA. Like, to me, Yakuza is Shenmue's cousin.
Yeah.
And I was just happy that during those long years of not having Shenmue 3, I had Yakuza to fall back to. Like, these are two franchises I love. Why do they need to be at war? Why do they need to fight each other? Like, it's so silly to me. Let's all hold hands. Yakuza and Shenmue are both incredible. We can enjoy both things.
Absolutely. I completely concur. They're both superb in their own right. They do different things very, very well, and they live together. I've got every Yakuza game on my shelf, and I love both franchises, and I completely agree with you. Of course, they can coexist.
Exactly. Yeah, I can just remember there being, it was short lived, but I can remember that being such a big thing for a minute.
It's died down now, actually, which is good. And I think Yakuza fans are discovering Shenmue and seeing what it's about, and likewise the other way. And I think that's how it should work.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to like one or the other. You can like both. You can hate, but it doesn't matter. But there's no need for this. My franchise is better than your franchise. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Just enjoy them both or don't.
So I'm going to go sort of accelerate through the Kickstarter a little bit. Sort of the communication side of things again was the Epic deal, which was tough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's your take on it?
I don't really have a take. It was discouraging. Just anytime there were problems or backlash, I would get a little sad. I don't remember the specifics. It was like 1 year of exclusivity, right? On the Epic Game Store?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I don't want to insult anyone, but like, can't you just play it on Steam? Or I mean, couldn't you just play it on Epic? Like, do you have to play it on Steam or wherever? Like, why can't you just download Epic Game Store and just play the game there? Like, does it really matter at the end of the day? I don't know.
No,
shit doesn't bug me.
No, it's one of those.
It doesn't bother
me. I don't think the actual announcement was handled very well. But at the end of the day, it's a storefront.
Exactly. It's not changing the game whatsoever if I'm playing it on Epic or Steam.
And this is just my personal opinion. And again, I don't want to offend anyone, but I've been waiting, the best part of 18 years like you have. That could have been on a toaster and I'd have played it.
Yeah, you tell me where and I'm there, period. Like, however we get there. And that's the whole thing about this Kickstarter and the Sony and the Epic is fans had been waiting so long. I think we were patient and willing to give the benefit of the doubt on everything versus cynical media and people who were not attached to come in and kind of just try to tear it down.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually, definitely. So going into your first play of Shenmue 3, because you managed to get your hands on it at E3 in 2019. Yep. Can you just
so fortunate
describe that moment to me? Because I've seen your videos.
What an experience. Just being able to sit with Yu Suzuki and play Shenmue 3. I mean, this is once in a lifetime. And I did not take that moment for granted. I was scared shitless, mind you. I was very nervous. I don't speak Japanese as well, so there was the language barrier, of course. But just that moment, being behind closed doors, it was me and my coworker Don. If you watch Easy Allies, Don was the cameraman. We were filming, and just being able to play it in front of him was, yeah, it was nothing short of magical.
I remember watching your video talking about with going into the room, and he stood
Mhm.
behind you, and you turn around,
Yes.
you're like, whoa!
Yeah. Yeah, because I had sat down to play it, and then I turned around and he was standing there, and I was, ah! And then, so then I played it for a bit, but then he left for a minute, and then I'd finished the demo. I think he didn't want to rattle me. He wanted to let me
Yeah,
go through it.
cool.
And then as soon as it was done, he came in and we were talking, and then he showed me some NDA stuff, which
Oh,
I won't even say now, but he showed me some parts down the line in Shenmue 3 that had not been revealed to the general public. So that was he did the whole like old PC game thing where you're the floating camera, you know?
oh
He
yeah,
was like the floating camera through kind of some environments that had yet to be revealed. And
yeah.
that was just so fun. Just, and I just wanted to thank him, on behalf of everyone. I was just like, yo, we're so happy. Like I just thank you for never giving up on Shenmue
Yeah,
3. Like,
I again, it's exactly I think how the community feels, and I've been lucky to meet him twice. Within because I went to Magic Monaco in 2019,
awesome.
and funny story. Me and my dojo co-owner met him in a hotel lobby by accident,
Oh, so cool.
which was a surreal experience. And he came across as such a humble man and so thankful for the
Mhm.
community and for us being there and sticking by him. But equally, I convey that thanks back to him for never giving that dream up and just
Mhm.
wanting to complete and continue that saga.
Yeah. Because without him, like, games are more than one person
Yeah,
usually, like, obviously some games out there are made by one person, but this story could never have continued if it weren't for him. Like,
definitely.
he was like, franchises that are long dormant, I think of Silent Hill, you need a champion to pick it up and get it going and get it made. You need someone like that. And, PT was Silent Hills, was Kojima. Like,
Yeah,
Kojima tried to pick up that torch and carry it, and that's a whole nother sad story for another day. But Yu Suzuki just kept going with this.
it's a testament to his character as well. I think to never give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said earlier, just so inspirational. And that inspiration and that commitment to never giving up intertwines with the game. So it's taking this real world energy and hope and kind of wrapping it around the game and the game's themes, and it's an experience like no other because of that.
Absolutely, absolutely, I completely agree. So, talking about Shenmue 3 itself and the game itself, obviously critically, it's divided opinion. To be fair, I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. It does have obviously some of its flaws. It's not beat around the bush about
Of
it.
course. Of course.
But what did you think of Shenmue 3 when you finished it and had played through it? What were your thoughts on it?
I did like it. And like you said, let's not beat around the bush. This game has some serious problems. Um I mean, right out of the gate, superficial, but also so important is visuals. Um, that when Shenmue 1 came out, it was like freaking Avatar in the IMAX, It was pushing technology forward like we had never seen. Um, and that alone allows you to be more immersed in the world you're exploring. So right away, Shenmue 3 didn't look great. Fortunately, though, it looked better than I thought it would. Because remember some of that Kickstarter first video
Yes,
where
of
the
course.
prototype footage, and I like that every time they showed Shenmue 3, it looked better and better and better visually.
Yes, definitely.
So So at least there was that. Um, but yeah, I really liked it. And I always go back to my favorite parts of Shenmue 3. My absolute number one is going home at night and talking to Shenhua.
Absolutely, they are fantastic.
Just the best moments. Man, oh man, I can remember just late at night sitting in my living room playing through that, and just those conversations sucked me in and took me back to the days of Shenmue 1 and 2. Just sitting around the dinner table and talking about the past and the future and the meaning of life. So
Yeah, they are some of the best conversations I think in the franchise. Actually, I think
I
they
agree.
are
I'm so glad you said that. I completely agree.
they are so well done, and it's those. Yeah, you're right. It took us back to the first two games, and I think another moment I had in Shenmue 3 is in, I think it's Rainbow Basin, where you find this the second tree, and there's that
Mhm.
punch mark on the tree itself, and then it starts playing the music from the first game. You get the flashback to Rio training with his dad.
Mhm.
That for me, it stands out as
Chills.
what Shenmue 1 and 2 did, which would draw you into
Yeah.
that emotion, to that feeling of why we're there.
Yes. Completely. Like driving home the memory of our dad, reminding us, taking us back.
Yeah, definitely. And refreshing why we're on that journey. And speaking of
Mhm.
that journey, we get hold of Landy for the first time in
Yes.
3 games. We get hold of him.
Yes.
How did you feel about it? Not just from an emotional standpoint, but from obviously playing through it.
Loved it. I think Shenmue 3, the combat, like, the combat is okay.
Yep.
I this is the most controversial opinion I think I have of Shenmue 3. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, where if you agree or disagree. I almost wish that Shenmue 3 combat was just QTEs. Honestly, like I almost wish they had just gotten rid of the free flow combat because it wasn't up to the standards. I feel like from the first two games, like you can't even throw. It was just really stiff. I know even the earlier ones are kind of feel a little stiff, but just here we are, in 2019. I feel like maybe we should have just gone with QTEs because they look flashy. They're still fun to do. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. I thought the system itself, I thought
Mhm.
once you get into it and you get over that sort of stiffness around it, I think there's a good system there, which they can
Yeah,
really,
some of those punches and kicks feel awesome. They're
yeah,
like
and
it's like an explosion.
they flow into each other really nicely.
Mhm.
I just sense that they maybe have been a little bit over ambitious with it,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but
They just didn't have the resources, I feel like, for it.
yeah, I would agree, and I think the idea of QTE fight sequences would have been really cool, especially with Landy, like basically handing your ass to you.
Mhm.
You just get beat up, which was always going to happen, I must say,
Loved that.
because
Yep. I
is it game wise? He's what 5 6 months in to the story. He's never going to be on now
Yeah.
level at that point.
No, Landy's a freaking master. An absolute martial arts master.
So I didn't understand the discontent around that personally. But going back to the system, I think
I loved getting my ass
yeah,
kicked 100%.
it was
Yeah.
it was always going to happen. It had to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to turn Super Saiyan at some point somehow.
Yes, we do.
We'll close the gap.
But going back into the system itself, I think they just like you say. I think it was over ambitious. Maybe they ran out of time on it. But I would also go back to Yu Suzuki and his ambition and his desire. And It wouldn't be a Shenmue game for me if they weren't trying to be ambitious, for
Exactly.
fault or not. And we were talking about some of the issues in the game now, but I would,
Totally. I completely respect the effort
yeah,
for the combat, even though that is my biggest criticism of the game.
yeah, absolutely. And that sequence at the end with Ren, obviously Rio asking how can you, and one point stood out in that was when they finished with the three henchmen and Landy sort of very sort of almost brushing Rio off. I see you've improved a bit.
Mhm. Yeah. There's gotta be more to the story here, you know? Because like, wouldn't Lon D wanna take Rio out? I mean, here we are now. We've been following him for a long time, and he knows that. He's gotta know that. He's seen us in China and, you know, seeing us here and if you're this powerful gang leader and someone's trying to take you down, wouldn't you wanna take them out first?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But does he see a use for Rio?
Dude, my whole theory after this game was like, dude, there's gonna be some kind of team up somehow. Lon D and Rio might team up in a future game. I could totally see that happening.
Well, when you consider that Nielsen has just burnt down the castle with Landy in it, and there's that
Mhm.
infighting the Chiyu men, you never know, do
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
That would be cool.
yeah. What do you think of that reveal?
I I was disappointed we didn't get more of her. I wanted
Same.
more of her. Oh, she had that sort of bit undercover, and I think that could have been developed more. Had I think they had the
Mhm.
more resources and the time. And I know that from speaking to sort of people involved in the game that they had to change the ending a little bit to get the game out. So I think there was more there than we got, but
Got it.
there's a lot of mystery around her, and
Yeah.
the actual reveal of her I thought was done okay, and I think
Mhm,
it's left me wanting more. But I just think they could have developed the whole thing around it a tiny bit more.
mhm. Yeah, I love secret organizations. Like, I'm obsessed with Organization 13 from Kingdom Hearts and Akatsuki from Naruto. So the Chiyu Min, oh, like I want to know more about this organization. I want to see the internal workings. I want to see
Yes.
their ultimate goal. There's still so much to learn about them.
And what really made it interesting, and I know Shenmue 3 gets criticized for having a lack of story content, and some of that is justified. I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. I think we'd all have liked more story content.
Mhm,
But let's just sum this up a little bit. Rio does not have the Phoenix mirror anymore.
mhm,
He's lost the mirror. Landy has been betrayed.
mhm.
I don't know if he knows by who, but he's been betrayed. And you're going to that cliff temple, and we don't know what we're going to find there, do we? So, what do you
No.
think we may come across?
Great question. Man, I don't know. I feel like the next Shenmue could actually reverse it all and like the beginning of the game we fight Lon D
Yeah,
instead of like saving it for the end. Like maybe he's there and we get into another scuffle and he finally gives us some information. Maybe he finally talks to us like you got it all wrong, kid. you know, but I don't know. Or maybe he is just a evil scumbag but maybe he wants to, maybe he's like freaking Emperor Palpatine and he wants to turn us to the dark side or some shit. I don't know. It could go so many ways.
it's interesting because they on the boat to the cliff temple they talk about how Landy was raised by the Chiyu men, so we don't know what information he's been fed.
Yeah, he could be a victim too. They could totally play that angle. Tragic backstory. Just about, because the whole thing of Londi killing Iwo was because he killed his father or whatever. But what if that isn't all
Yeah,
that it seems? Maybe he had misinformation or got manipulated as well.
but then I'm gonna flip that a little bit. What if Wow did? what if he did kill his
Yeah.
father? And then how does Rio
So
handle that? Because Rio has Iwao on a pedestal, doesn't he? And rightly so. That's how he's been
yes. Oh, that's
presented.
great.
So can you imagine that fall from grace if that's the way they went?
Totally. That would be epic. Oh my gosh. Cuz that'd be another life lesson too for Shenmue and just for the players cuz that is a big part of it is these life lessons and seeing different perspectives and just seeing Rio having to struggle with that I think would make for a very compelling game.
It would make for a very compelling story of how he develops as a character, how he puts that behind him, because that's part of his training.
Mhm.
Part of his character is,
Yeah.
is control of the mind. It's putting that behind you, putting all those pressures and all of that revenge, that want, that desire behind you to make the right decision.
Mhm.
And it could go so many different. Well, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Actually,
Same.
it's
Yeah.
so. Let's talk a little bit about Shenmue 4. We've got the anime as well to talk about. There's so much now. It's great. Shenmue 4, I mean, for me, and I want your opinion on this, is I think Shenmue 3 could be the basis for Shenmue 4 to really take the ball by the horns and knock everything out the park. Because you've got the systems, you've got the fighting engine, which can be improved on. You've got the graphics, which, as we've been talking about, have improved time after time after time after they've shown stuff. So naturally, we would expect more progression in that area. What do you want from Shenmue 4 as the game? What do you want to see?
Visuals definitely a little better. I mean, next gen consoles are out now, so tech has just had a big leap because of that. So I imagine the graphics could look better without the cost going up as huge. I feel like making a last gen game might be a little cheaper than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I would
Well,
still love for this obviously to be on the new shiny new systems. Um, but yeah, I think honestly, I think I would love it if we had one area
yeah.
as opposed to multiple. I feel like it's always going to be hamstrung now by the budget. The first two games were just so expensive to make and they just didn't sell well enough. And I can't see a world ever again, unfortunately. It's really sad and hard to say, but I just can't see a world in where a Shenmue sequel now gets that kind of money ever. Uh, so I think the best option would be to scale it down to like one environment and just make that place so lived in, so densely packed with awesome stories and characters and things to do. Um, yeah.
It's interesting you say that, and it's something I would agree with because I think games as a whole now are too big. I think they lose that attention to detail because worlds are huge now. And if they
Mhm.
go for that one area which is densely populated, lots of stories, lots of detail, it appeals to me a lot. And Yu Suzuki has talked publicly about wanting to make one area more detailed. I think it was with either Famitsu or IGN Japan. He talked about Shenmue 4 and how he wants to make the area you have that smaller, more detailed. So I think he's been
Oh,
listening to those
awesome.
things, which is fantastic to hear. So
Yeah.
I that's what I would agree. I think it goes you scale the world down, you improve your systems, and you tell a compelling story in that one or one and a half areas if you want to have like a boss type area type thing.
Mhm.
It's like
Totally.
similar to like either like the Yellowhead Tower or something like that. That would work
Mhm.
really, really well. But I feel that they have to tell a compelling story to really sort of drive it on. I think.
Mhm.
And here's another question: should it be the final game? Do you think on a personal level?
I think it'd be the smart thing to do for sure. You go one more. Like the fact that three was made is a damn miracle. Let's
Definitely
uh yeah, I can remember the whole grand plan, right, of 16 chapters was supposed to be.
16, then scaled down to 11,
16
and then I don't
scaled down.
I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, it's kind of changed over everything, right? And the Shenmue 1 is what, 1 through 3, and then the comic is 4 and something. Yeah, it's changed a couple times, so I forget at the moment, but at the end of the day, I think one more game, close it out, would be the absolute best move. And then too, like, maybe you could even use that to get more support. You say that it's the last one. You hype it up as the conclusion. Because when Shenmue 3 was coming out, like, we all knew that this wasn't going to be the
Yeah.
end. So maybe, that I think contributed to maybe kind of the negative vibes of the game, of just like, oh, they're asking fans for money, and you're not even the whole story, and you're going to need more. It was just like this pessimism, maybe.
Yeah, I
So,
would agree with that. I think the Shenmue fans, we all knew that Shenmue 3 was a continuation. It was never going to be the end.
mhm.
I do think some outlets sort of latched onto, why is it not the end? Well, because it's not due to be the
Mhm.
end of the story.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
uh,
whatever happens with Shenmue 4, I'm glad Shenmue 3 wasn't the end, because I think they'd have had to rush everything.
totally.
And
Absolutely. I loved the quiet moments with Shenhua, and just learning about the old emperor and stuff coming, and all the mirror stuff, and I just loved learning about that.
I mean, I love Bailu Village. I think it's one of my. It had that almost homely feel that Dead Wheater had.
Right? Totally. Yeah, I like to say Shenmue 3 is kind of a combination of 1 and 2
Yes,
with each city, you know?
yeah, I'd agree with that. Actually, I think you're completely right. Bailu Village surprised me of how much I liked it. Actually,
Yeah.
it maybe wasn't as rudimentary as I was expecting. I think had we got a direct continuation on Dreamcast, it may have been slightly different. But
Mhm, of
I
course.
loved what we got.
Same,
It was
same.
a magical village.
It really was.
I can quite happily sit there and just explore the village for hours and get lost in
Totally.
fishing and herb hunting and training and everything else.
The little kids doing martial arts in
Yeah,
the courtyard is so jolly. I love it.
no, it's a beautiful village. So talking about, obviously we talked about Shenmue 4 and the future of the franchise. We have the anime, the Shenmue anime, which got announced in September. They had to announce it early because Shenmue fans are like detectives. They found out about it before it should have done.
Of
Um,
course.
what's your feelings on it? And how do you think it fits into the wider Shenmue franchise?
I am excited about this, of course. Any more Shenmue is great, in any capacity. The more the better. Um, Grateful for it, even existing. I feel like it's going to be a recap, right, of the first games.
Yeah, the first two,
Yeah, I think this is smart. My hope and my dream is that it gets new fans on board.
definitely.
They see maybe this anime, because the at the end of the day, the number one takeaway for me with Shenmue will always be the story. Of course, I love so many other things about it. Don't get me wrong. Love all the little mini games and QTEs and everything, but it's the grand narrative and the smaller stories with characters that I still remember to this day and will never forget. So I think if you can get people on board and say, "Hey, these are the kind of stories we're telling in this series," then hopefully it'll lead them to try the games.
Yeah, and I think it makes those conversations around Shenmue 4 easier if it does take off, because you
Mhm.
have that bigger fan base. People come in, they start
Totally.
playing the games, they start buying Shenmue merchandise, and it makes those conversations easier to go
Mhm.
look at this market. Because at the end of the day, as much as we love Shenmue, and it's a business, it is a
Yep.
business, and Wisenet and Sega and whoever else are involved, they want to make money.
Yep. They need to make money. Like, human beings work on these that have lives and need sleep and need to pay rent, and the employees need to be paid. Like, yes, there is a lot of factors that we usually don't think about, but it is absolutely a tricky thing getting a game made, let alone the fourth game in a series.
Definitely. And I think also with the anime, going into that a bit more, is we've had obviously the chapters, as we know, we've just discussed it, have changed a lot from 16 to 11. It
Mm.
gives, I think, an opportunity for some of those sort of untold chapters to come in, like the boat chapter between Shenmue 1 and 2, for example. They could tell that story, and they can have a different slant on some of the stories that have been told already, and sort of have their own interpretation without going too far away, I think, from the core
Mhm.
story, which I'm glad Yu Suzuki is on board with it and is an executive producer, because I think anything Shenmue, he has to be around it. Otherwise, I think it loses its essence.
Completely. Yeah, definitely. The fact that he's involved is essential. It feels more authentic
Yeah,
than a kind of a cash grab, you know? That's kind of a cynical thing. It's like, oh, let's take this franchise and try to make money a different way. But the fact that he's involved means it's the passion is there, the reverence, the love of it.
definitely. Yeah, and you know it's going to be a certain quality in terms of the story. If he likes it, the chances are we're going to like it, which I think fills
Hmm.
me with confidence. Here's a question actually around the anime: would you want to see Corey Marshall come back? I know I would.
Oh, of course, of course. And I can remember hearing that a lot of the actors were going to return from the game, but they were going to get new people as well. So I'm hoping he's there. I would imagine he's going to be. I would bet on that. If I was in Las Vegas, I'd throw a bet down on that.
Yeah,
No question
I
that he's coming back.
I would. I think if you don't, you almost alienate some people because he's
Hmm.
synonymous. Corey is a fan and he's part of this community, and he's part of the journey. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't want to lose him because of those reasons.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't wait for this, dude. You're getting me hyped, man. Thanks. Now I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight thinking about the Shenmue anime.
You're welcome. I'm just desperate for news on it.
I know. Where is it? I feel like we haven't heard anything about it in a really long time. Like, is it still coming? I hope.
The last news we had on it was it was supposed to be this year. I'd imagine towards the end of the year, and before Christmas there was an interview in Famitsu with Yu Suzuki and one of the, I think, directors or producers talking about it, and they'd shown Yu Suzuki 2 episodes without the voices, and that was before Christmas.
Awesome.
So it's definitely happening. I just want to see a
Okay.
trailer, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Hook us up. Hey, we're used to waiting though. We can wait. No rush.
Yeah, 18 years. We'll be all right, won't we?
Yeah.
I'm. I do. I hope it takes off because I think it will be, as you say, it will bring new fans in. It's an opportunity. It isn't a money making opportunity as well. They can make merchandise. They can make DVDs. And if it gets a second season as well, you could go through Shenmue 2 and 3 and tell the story so that everybody's at the same
Totally.
point. So, assuming we get a Shenmue 4, everybody's at the same point. So, anybody can come in, having watched the anime, pick up the fourth game, and be with us.
Totally. Yeah, because I feel like that's all you need to get someone on board. I feel like that has no idea what Shenmue is. Show some sick ass martial arts anime style between some characters, and I feel like people will be like, "Oh, what's that?" Like that will catch people if you just have really cool fight scenes in a trailer.
Yeah,
Show that off.
70-man battle in an anime trailer or some of it.
Yeah,
That
seriously.
that would really, and I think you're right. I think if you get those
Because like,
cool martial arts
yeah,
in there, it's cool, it looks good, and it's, I don't know,
yes.
it entices you in, doesn't it?
And then you get them with that, and then once you have them, then all of a sudden, you start those stories start coming up, and those bonds and those characters. That's when you get people attached. You show the flashy action, then they're in, get them on board with the story, and that's it.
And once those story hooks have you, as we both know, that's it.
Yeah.
That is it. You
Yep.
you are hooked on this franchise for life.
Yep.
Our poor wives. I feel sorry for my wife a tiny bit. I'm just conscious of the time because obviously you got to stream later. I'm going to close us down, this interview down, with just one final question. Do you
Great.
have a message for the Shenmue community across the globe going forward?
Huh. Never give up. Follow your dreams, follow your heart, follow your passions. That's it. I mean, this franchise coming back, some people think it's silly, but it has been one of the most inspirational moments of my life. Just something that people said was impossible and dead and never going to happen actually happening and proving those people wrong. And Yu Suzuki's just ultimate drive and determination is so inspiring that yeah, just never give up, never stop believing.
Fantastic. And all it remains for me to say is thank you for taking the time to join me today. I've had an absolute ball going back all the way back, feeling like I was 14 again. It's been fantastic. And I'd love to have you back sometime.
Oh yes, likewise, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me, Matt. Absolute pleasure.